Right, so there's the new gasket. It's the next morning. I decided to take the night off last night, so I just now cut this out. Thought I'd better add it in real quick just so you can kind of see. It's easy to make a gasket when you have a template, so I basically just laid it on top. For the holes, I just took a drill and slowly put it down on the workbench like that, and slowly just drilled into it until I felt my workbench. Then I kind of pulled it up and just reamed it out a little bit, and now we have a gasket. So let's just see how it fits. Put this back on and make sure it's going to fit on there. Holes match up. Holes match. Everything matches up. So there we go. And that's how you make your own gaskets. Now I'll go ahead and you can see I've cleaned this all up now, and it'll just sit there like that. I'm not going to trim up the edges any. I don't, it's all hidden anyway, so nobody's going to see it. And that's it. I'm going to throw a little bit of RTV on there and button that up, and then this piece is done. The next step is to go in and finish putting the carburetors together. I've got the RTV now, so I'm going to use this ultra black advanced formula. It's got maximum oil resistance. Obviously don't need that here, but there's no sense in buying different ones when this will do both. So I'm not going to need that much for either job, so this will work just fine. Yeah, that's where we're at. So let me get this buttoned up, and probably the next recording will be once I get the carburetors put back together and brought back out here to the garage. Okay, there it is, all put together. You can see the cork gasket in there. Everything looks like it's sealed up really well. Don't see any issues whatsoever, and I did run some of that RTV in between each plate just to make sure it's sealed up well. There's no flex in the middle. That's really one thing to look for, is make sure it's not flexing there, opening up. So can't really tell on those, but it's not, so we're good. That's ready to go. Now to go inside, put the carbs together first, and then when I get the carbs back together, I'm going to start on this. And I think what I'm also going to do is just go through the entire bike, run the gamut of the electrical system, for the ignition at least, for spark, and make sure none of the other ones look like this before I even attempt to kick it over again, because I'm gonna tell you, my leg is sore from the last few days trying to kick this bike over. I feel like I ran a marathon or something. Anyway, that's where it's at, and this is now done. I'm just gonna set it over here out of the way, and we will get the carburetors put back together and get them out here. So see you next time. So for the carburetor, the float ball gaskets, like I said, the gaskets themselves look pretty good. There's nothing really wrong with them. I could probably put them right back on just like they are and not have an issue. But since I've got it all apart, I'm just going to go ahead and run some of this RTV around it, and let it, sealed up even better. So instead of running it around like this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to squirt it out on my finger here. That's why I'm wearing a glove. And I'm just going to lightly spread it around the gasket, because I don't want it real thick, and I don't want it to plug up any holes anywhere, right? So I'm just going to, rub the whole thing down like this. Should have wore two gloves. That's all right. I got another pair right there, so let me do that. Put another glove on. This RTV stuff is real sticky and gets all over everything. That's why you want to just make sure you have gloves on. Save yourself the hassle later. All right, put some more on my finger. Keep going like that, and the stuff doesn't dry real fast, so you've got time. The main thing is just make sure you have full coverage and it's not clumped up in any spaces, because if it gets clumped up, it could plug a hole in the carburetor that you don't want plugged up. So there, that one looks like it's covered good on this side. Flip it over and do the exact same thing. Get it cleaned up. And see, it's just real light. I'm just putting a real light coat on, because this gasket itself looks to be still good. So it doesn't need a whole lot. I just want it, you know, just a little bit of security. That's really all it is. Make me feel better. That way I know when I go to do this. Ooh, I got too much on there. All right. And that goes just like that. Oh, yeah, see that hole there? Too much in it. There we go. See, I didn't want to clog that jet right there, and I did. I put a little too much in and got some on the jet. You don't want to do that. So make sure you check it. And there we go. All right, that's it. Now we're gonna take our gloves off and mate it back up to the carburetor body, throttle body. Be nice and easy, not to get anything, and there it is. We are good. Now I'm just gonna put the bolts back in, and this one's done. So I'm gonna do the exact same thing on the other one. I won't waste your time with it. I'll do the exact same with it. Same thing with it. Put the hose back on here and connect the two back, and then we'll take it back out to the garage. Hey, I'm back, you guys. Alright, so I started looking at the electrical here. I've got this ignition amplifier box back together. It's ready to go, get put back in. Of course, I'll replace bolts and everything. But anyway, that's back together and ready to be put in. I have repaired this, I think. I use some JB Weld. We'll see what it does. If not, we'll replace that with a lock nut. That's easy enough. I've cleaned up the airbox. It had a ton of corrosion and mice droppings and stuff like that. You can still see some there. I just could not get in there deep enough. But it's on the outside, so it's not too much of an issue for me. Same thing in this little corner, but the rest of it's all cleaned up and been taken apart, and there's the oil breather tube. It's also been taken out, cleaned up of rust and everything, and now it looks 100%. So back to the electrical issue. I showed you all of the wires that were green and everything that went into that ignition amplifier. Well, when you come up here on this coil, it's also green, very green. So I don't think there's a problem with the coil themselves. I think it's just, you know, the connectors. So I'll have to pull those off and do that. But one thing I did notice, when I went to pull this off of the this coil, it just snapped right off. That's the actual post still up inside the connector there. But luckily it has two. I can't get a good light on that, but luckily it has two connectors, two posts per connector there. So I've got an extra plug here, post. I've got an extra post here on all of them. All of them have two. So this one breaking off is not a big deal. I'll just clip the wire, pull it up a little bit, and I've got some connectors in there. Got a whole box of them here somewhere. Just gotta find them. Yeah, see. So got a whole box of connectors that I'll be able to replace what needs to be replaced, so it's not a big deal. But that's what's going on now. I think what I'm going to do is pull this entire tray out This is all one big piece, it looks like. Battery tray is separate. But this tray itself looks like it's all one big piece. So I think I'm just going to pull the whole thing out. That way I can get a good look at it. And while I have it out, I'll go ahead and clean all the rust off of it and repaint it. That's one less thing I'll have to do later. So that's where I'm at. I'm working on the coils. These connectors look good. I don't see anything wrong with them. They're still nice and shiny. So, and the plug wires themselves seem to be really good because the plastic or the rubber is still very soft. So I don't have any issue with the plug wires themselves at all. You can tell they're still older though, but yeah, you can see they're still rubbery. There's nothing wrong with them. There's no cracks or anything. So I don't imagine that they were too old. So yeah, that's where I'm at now. I did want to show you one last thing before I get back to work. I was lucky enough that Gary kept a ton of things, brochures, and documentation for this bike. One of them being this parts catalog from June 1984. And it's just full of part numbers, inventory items, prices, descriptions. Not sure it'll be that useful, but you never know. It's here. I think it's just neat to have it. There it is, Cincinnati Accessories Mart, Cincinnati, Ohio. So, old stuff. Look at that, it even has a telex number. So, yeah, just pretty neat little item to have with it. See, that's the back of it. And then here's the next one. Distributor Domi Racing. The world's best spares service for European motorcycles. Catalog number 19. And this one's a little better. It's got, you know, all kinds of different stuff. It's got part numbers, and that's good to have. At a minimum, it tells you part numbers, so I mean, you just can't get any more lucky than that, right? Right? Well, hold on, because guess what I got? The original owner's Chilton Haynes manual. The original Haynes manual. I almost said Chilton's, but yeah, he kept that too, and I've used it several times now, so I know it definitely has come in useful. But the grand prize of them all, replacement parts catalog. Guys, this has everything with part numbers and everything. I mean, just you name it, it's got it. Here, I'm looking to replace some stuff for the coils. I was looking up to see what the coil number was, so if I could buy a new one. So here's the coil, which is number 7. Right, go over here, number 7. And there's my part number, 60-7131. Maker's part number, 45220. Ignition coil, 17M6. Quantity 2. See, I mean, it tells me everything, and it literally breaks down the entire motorcycle. There's the seat, there's the oil pan and the frame. I mean, I'm just telling you, it's got there's the carbs. It's got everything. The head. So this right here is worth its weight in gold for sure, and then some. So yeah, I forgot to show that to you before. I didn't even think about it. But I've been using it and this Haynes manual the whole time. So yeah, I guess you could call it cheating, but I don't care. It works and I like it. And I want to thank Gary very much for keeping that stuff around. It's made my job 1,000 times easier. I don't even need to look it up on the internet anymore. I can just look in here, find the part number, and then look up the part number on the internet, and I almost instantly find a couple of places where I can buy them. And if not, there's usually an eBay link to somebody selling one on eBay for that part number. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm going to pull the coils off, and you can see I've still got the carburetors off. They're put together. The carburetors are put together, but I'm not putting them back on now yet until I can get the air box and the plate. This thing here used to be welded in, and my welder's down right now, so I'm not able to weld. But so I tried some JB Weld. We'll just see what it does. It may not hold, and if it doesn't hold, I'll just replace it with a lock nut. But this the electronic amplifier sits back in those two holes, right back in there. So once that dries up, I'll give it a day or so, and of course clean all the rust out and repaint that before I put it back together. And then try to, again, I'm still stuck on cleaning all these connectors. But yeah, I just wanted to let you know where I was. Been messing around with other things and haven't really got to the electrical yet, but when I got back to it, like I said, I found out these are just, on this coil, they're just green as can be. Again, mice were living up in here also. So that's why all of this is the way it is. Just the mouse urine and, you know, things like that. I found 2 dead mice up inside of here. So, yeah, that's just the way it goes. And you can kind of see on these wires, which I'm going to have to replace. I just noticed that myself. They're actually, looks like maybe rubbed through or chewed through. Oh yeah, oh yeah, look at that. That's stranded. I can pull a strand out of that one. So, yep, looks like I'm replacing some wires too. So, okay, I guess that's the next thing, is to work on, get the electrical going again, at least for the coils, and get that up and running, and make sure everything else is still good. It looks like all the other stuff is okay. I mean, it's all wrapped up in tape and everything, and I'm not seeing any other frays, and then mostly it's just up in here where the mice were living. So, you know, we'll get all this replaced and put back together. And I don't have a way to, ooh, that coil, look at that, the body of the coil. Yeah, it looks like it's coming apart, so maybe I do need to replace the coils. I don't know. Well, I'll test it and see. I don't even know how to test a coil to see if it's good, but I will look that up and find out. And if I'm not able to do it, then I'll take it somewhere where they can. But yeah, so that's where we're at. I'm going to pull this whole plate off, get these coils out, replace some wires that have been chewed through. Doesn't look like any of these are bad. Maybe even just clip these connectors off completely, wire brush these down, clip these off completely, put new ones on. I might do the whole thing. I might even just clip this whole unit, and just put new terminals on it and new ends, if I can't figure out a way to clean that easily. So yeah, that's where I'm at, getting ready to start on all the electrical. Alright, I am off to have some fun with this. I will catch you guys on the next one.